The moment the battle reached its peak, something subtle happened that almost no one noticed. Sylvia's eyes narrowed as she crossed blades with Leon, and the realization crept in slowly, like frost spreading over glass. The man in front of her was not simply strong anymore. He had become something far more dangerous than the student she once taught. She blocked another strike, sparks of light bursting between their swords as Leon's slash tore through the air with terrifying speed. His weapon left glowing streaks behind it, an afterimage of raw power that made the chamber look like it had been carved apart by lightning. Metatron, Lord of Purity. The ultimate skill turned every motion Leon made into a weapon capable of absolute annihilation. The holy attribute wrapped around his blade like a living force, compressing spiritual particles until even the air trembled when he swung. Disintegration. The most destructive holy magic ever created. Leon was no longer merely a demon lord or a hero. In that moment, he was a walking embodiment of ruin. Sylvia twisted her body sideways and vanished in a crack of thunder. Lightning exploded where she had stood, her form dissolving into a streak of electricity that reappeared behind Leon in the next instant. Her Vajra weapon shifted shape in her hand as she counterattacked, her strikes coming down like divine punishment. Indra, her own ultimate skill, answered Metatron blow for blow. Lightning against holy destruction, thunder against divine annihilation. The collision of their powers shredded the chamber around them. To anyone watching, the two combatants seemed to disappear entirely, replaced by flashes of light and thunderclaps that split the air apart. Their swords clashed faster than sight could follow, each movement leaving the environment more devastated than before. Yet Sylvia's expression hardened, because she understood something the others did not. Leon was still holding back. Her thoughts ran cold. I knew he was strong, but he's grown this much? For a brief moment, pride stirred inside her. This man had once been her pupil, someone she taught the fundamentals of combat and discipline. Seeing him reach such heights should have been a moment of satisfaction. Instead, it filled her with dread. Because Leon had always had a weakness: kindness. He never unleashed his full power when allies were nearby. He refused to risk hurting those he protected. That hesitation had always been the flaw Sylvia exploited whenever she sparred with him. But now she realized something terrifying. That weakness had disappeared. Leon's eyes carried none of the hesitation she remembered. The control of Michael had burned that softness away. If he used Metatron without restraint, this entire nation would vanish. Sylvia forced her breathing to steady as another barrage of sword strikes rained down on her. If Leon truly unleashed the full extent of Metatron's power, there would be no battlefield left to fight on. Just ruin. So she made a silent decision. No matter what happens, I have to stop him. Behind them, another disaster was unfolding. The exchange between Yuki's group and Feldway had turned into something none of them expected. For tens of thousands of years, Feldway's plans had moved forward without error. Every calculation had been perfect, every outcome predicted. But recently, the world had begun slipping outside his control. Cornu's army had been annihilated. Velgrind had returned from exile. Yuki had broken free from Regalia Dominion. And now, Kagali had regained her sanity as well. Feldway stared at Yuki with narrowed eyes, his voice colder than the void. "What did you do? How did you escape Regalia Dominion?" Yuki smiled like a man who had just pulled off the greatest trick of his life. "Oh, the reason's simple. I'm a genius." The casual arrogance in his voice made several people flinch. He explained it without hesitation. While under Michael's control, Yuki had been observing everything. Every reaction. Every fluctuation in power. Every tiny inconsistency. He discovered something important. Regalia Dominion controlled the mind, but it could be deceived. So Yuki created a substitute, a will, a fake consciousness born from his ultimate skill Mamon, Lord of Greed. The moment Regalia Dominion tried to dominate him, it latched onto that false will instead of the real one. From that point onward, Yuki was free. It was a gamble that required absurd levels of intelligence and patience, but it worked. Feldway understood immediately what that meant. This human was dangerous. Too dangerous. Before Yuki could exploit the advantage further, Feldway made a decision. A hidden card he intended to save for later would have to be used now. His voice echoed through the chamber. "Jahil, awaken! Kill this brat!" For a moment, Confusion spread across the battlefield. Then something wet struck Yuki's chest. Pain exploded through his body. He looked down. A hand was protruding from his torso. Blood spilled from his mouth as shock overtook him. Behind him stood Footman, or at least the creature that used to be Footman. "Footman, what are you doing?" Kagali screamed. The figure laughed, but the voice was not Footman's. "Silence, Kazalim." The aura pouring from him was monstrous, ancient, and utterly malicious. Laplace stepped forward cautiously. "Who are you?" The creature smiled. "Who am I? What kind of lowly garbage are you, if you don't even know the sorcerous dynast when you see him?" The name struck Sylvia like a hammer. Jahil, the emperor who should have died long ago, a genius researcher and one of Twilight's most infamous disciples. Sylvia's expression darkened instantly. Of all possible enemies, this was the worst. Feldway had planted Jahil's wandering soul inside Footman long ago, slowly allowing it to erode his host's consciousness until nothing remained. Now the balance had finally tipped. Footman was gone. Jahil had taken full control. Flames erupted around his enormous body as the angry jester mask melted into slag. The ultimate enchantment, Agni, Lord of Blazes, ignited. The temperature of the entire battlefield spiked violently. Kagali's voice cracked as she stared at the monster wearing her ally's body. "Footman's mine, give him back." Jahil laughed. "You were always the softest of the soft." A massive fireball formed instantly in his palm and launched toward her. Laplace tried to intercept it with magic. The flames swallowed his spell effortlessly. The explosion engulfed Kagali, Teare, and the wounded Yuki. But when the fire cleared, a figure was still standing. Yuki. Barely alive, but standing. "Nice try," he muttered. Anti-skill had neutralized the attack. Jahil tilted his head with curiosity. "My flames don't work on you? That's trouble." The way he said it sounded less like concern and more like excitement, like a scientist examining a new specimen. The battle escalated immediately. Laplace, Teare, Kagali, and Yuki fought together against Jahil's overwhelming power. But the numbers were meaningless. Laplace's existence points barely crossed 1 million. Yuki had 2 million. Teare held 2.4 million. Kagali approached 4 million with her weapon. Jahil stood at 14 million. The gap was not merely large, it was absolute. Still, they fought, because they had one objective: buy time. Yuki wiped blood from his mouth and muttered through a strained smile. "We just need to survive until Rimuru gets here." Laplace laughed. "Yeah, that slime's pretty ridiculous." Even on the brink of death, Yuki couldn't help thinking about him. Rimuru, the absurd being who seemed to break every rule of the world. Yuki had arrived in this world first. He had struggled, schemed, sacrificed everything. Yet somehow Rimuru always achieved greater miracles without trying. Yuki found it infuriating and strangely reassuring. "He'll show up," Yuki said quietly, "so we stall." They formed a line, 4 fighters standing against an impossible enemy. The battle resumed with desperate intensity. But Jahil soon discovered the flaw in Yuki's defense. Anti-skill only nullified magic and skills, not pure physical power. So Jahil stopped using magic entirely. He simply rushed forward and started beating Yuki into the ground. The results were immediate. Yuki was thrown through the air like a rag doll. Laplace and Teare were crushed seconds later. Kagali tried to intervene with magic, but Jahil shattered her defenses with a single punch. Within moments, all 4 were lying broken on the ground. Jahil raised both hands, gathering enormous energy. "Sir Feldway, can I do away with them?" Feldway answered without emotion. "Do as you like." The destructive force forming in Jahil's palms began warping the air itself. This was not magic, not a skill, just pure, catastrophic power. Sylvia saw it and went pale. If that attack landed, nothing would remain. Not bodies, not souls, nothing. She scanned the battlefield desperately. Yuki was out. Kagali's barrier was collapsing. Teare could not defend against this. That left only one person, Laplace. Her eyes locked onto him, and suddenly her breath caught. Because beneath his cracked mask, she saw a face she recognized, a face she thought was lost to history. Memories surged back in an instant. Sylvia screamed with everything she had, "Run, Thalion!" But she was too late. Jahil unleashed the attack. A blinding flash consumed the battlefield. Then the explosion came, and Leon's castle vanished in fire.